As it goes through the protocol for the start, all visit was signed into the visit record at the entrance to Kilcaigs. This includes council staff and other buildings. There is no planned fire evacuation during the alarm testing day. If the fire alarm is activated during the visit, you must exit the building immediately. Council officers will direct you to the nearest fire exit and escort visitors to the building by assembly point, which is beside Silverman at the top of Parliament Walk. Concrete staff should report to the closed assembly point. You should remain at the assembly point until directed to reoccupy the building and only re-enter once the fire marshal is advised it is safe to do so. Please do not attempt to leave the site of the vehicle until due to use by the fire marshal to ensure that access routes are kept clear from the rest of the vehicle. Please note this is a public meeting and members of the public may be in attendance. The meeting will be recorded with the clerk and published online for public viewing. The taking of photographs, including screenshots, audio or video recordings are not permitted during meetings unless we express permission to the convener. The members attending virtually activate the cameras where possible to enable you to join by video. Can all attendees mute the microphone when not speaking. Please do not comment your items unless invited to do so. Members attending virtually wish to speak at any point. Can you please indicate by clicking the raise your hand button? And members of the chamber should also raise their hands. We'll bring you in appropriate time. If any members have not been able to access the tables for the meeting, could you indicate that? Okay, thank you. We've got apologies from Councillor Rennie and Councillor Lee this morning, and we've been joined remotely by Councillors Martin, Errol, Law and Holden, and apologies for the Chief Executive this morning, Mr. Scoops, taking a role this morning for this morning's meeting. Do you have any declarations of interest for items on the agenda this morning? No? Okay, so move on into the minutes of previous meetings. Clackmannanshire Council on 1st of February 24. Let's move page 7, page 8, 9, page 10, and page 11. Happy to approve. And minutes of the special meeting of Clackmannanshire Council, which was on Thursday, 29th of February, page 13, page 14, and 15. Happy to approve. Thank you. So we want the first paper in this morning's agenda, which is the Be the Future update, and that's Lorraine. Thank you.
Good morning, Convener. Good morning, councillors. I'm pleased to be presenting this paper on behalf of the Chief Executive this morning. The paper provides an update on the government's Be the Future transformation programme, specifically in respect of collaborative community models, an area which has previously been agreed by Council as a priority for transformation. The paper provides information on 3 key areas of development which have evolved from the work of the Family Wellbeing Partnership. 1, work has progressed on a new investment model to keep our children and young people in Clackmannanshire through the development of a new housing and children's provision. And Council is asked to approve further development of this investment model with the support which is supported with the Barty Foundation. This will provide external investment to the Council on the basis of a leaseback approach, saving considerable capital and running costs. Secondly, we have been working with the Scottish Government, the Hunter Foundation and other players such as Audit Scotland and the Improvement Service to develop a more streamlined approach to how we can put existing silent funding into one single funding vehicle, which can be used to address the needs of our communities in a more holistic way rather than policy by policy. And Council is asked to approve the next stage of this development set out in 3.13, not para 3.12 as referred to in 2.12, which is there in the paper. Apologies. And thirdly, Council is also asked to note the progress and support to develop collaborative community and place-based models of asset management, with work underway to recruit a post which will focus on this area. Happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Here's a question.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Martha's on. Right, sorry, paragraphs
3.3 and 3.4 on page 18 make reference to various successes. I'm just wondering if you could give a couple of examples of those, just to kind of see the meat and bones, as it were.
In terms of 3.3, Paris 3.3 and 3.4, in terms of the successes of the Family Wellbeing Partnership. So we were fortunate enough, with the support of the council leader, on Monday to have a visit from the Scottish Government. The most senior civil servant in Scotland came to see the work of the Family Wellbeing Partnership alongside some of its directors. And the successes that he was able to see was community members and community groups saying that there was a radical shift in the way that they received support from Clackmannanshire Council. So, for example, instead of asking for housing support, separately asking for social work support, separately asking for employability support, what they were describing was a way that they could come to the council now and they were getting a response from the council officers, which was a one-door approach, and that they actually were then led into different areas of support. They were then describing that as a complete change of an impact on their lives for the better. So we had several examples from the community members describing that success and that approach. From the community partners, so the third sector organisations, they were also describing a shift to be feeling as if they were actually true partners in the process, and if they weren't being done to, they had a share in what was going on in Clackmannanshire, they were contributing to that, and that they were actually felt actually we had a model in Clackmannanshire that should be extremely proud of, and was a model that the rest of Scotland should be looking towards. So that was the demonstration, I think, of the success came direct from the mouths of those community members and community partners.
Excellent, that's good to hear. Can I just now move to the next page 19, 3.10. I'm just wondering, it's envisaged in the middle, it says it's envisaged that the funding vehicle would have charitable status, etc. But I just wonder what the content and control of that fund operation would be.
A lot of that is still to be worked out. I think that's what we're asking council to allow us to go to the next stage to start working through that, and we would bring that down to council. But it has a possibility. There would be a board of trustees who would actually look, and that could include elected members should that be decided as part of the option. But it could separately be a fund manager who we actually commission to actually manage the funds. For example, somebody like Foundation Scotland, who already do have different funds. So there's different models that we could explore in terms of the control of that fund.
And do you think that elected members' involvement might not be direct, that might be getting reported to, the responsibility might be delegated to this fund manager, and we would be hearing about the post-fact rather than the
I can't see that happening, to be perfectly honest. I think there would be absolute control at the outset in terms of the themes and the priorities being set by council. What is possible is that the fund then go away and work on those priorities and projects that would be allocated, but I would absolutely see that the council would have control over the themes, whether they came from the Lloyd or whether they came from this chamber. But I think that would absolutely be essential as we go forward.
Great, thanks. I think I have one more. Yeah, 3.11. My question is, how is ring fencing avoided? Because is ring fencing a function of the actions of the fund there rather than the fund debt?
So, yes, the ring fencing is prescribed by the funder, and that's the existing model. What we are proposing to the Scottish Government is that actually they have more control, so they remove that ring fencing, and actually we then have the control to decide how those funds are spent. So what happens at the moment, for example, we would have an employability grant which has to be spent on certain areas of employability, certain indicators as KPIs. We would have a separate fund, for example, for childcare, a separate fund. So instead of having them all in separate prescriptions as to how that should be spent, we've asked the Scottish Government if they would release that ring fencing approach.
Excellent.
Would I give way or can I pass you on?
Carry on.
Thanks. Now we're on 3.15 on page 20. Oh yeah, it's to do with the transport side of 3.15, the development of sustainable model of transport. How will this appointment impact on someone like Leslie Deans, for example?
So I think in transport specifically, there's an operational part to how which is Leslie's role. What is envisaged, haven't seen the job profiles, is currently in development, but we need somebody who sees from a strategic perspective how all the connections. So transport doesn't, it's just like silo funding, it doesn't sit in isolation, it allows people to get to work, it allows people to get to school, it allows people to get to leisure. So the operational part, Leslie, is doing the contracts and making sure that we have all the operations in place. What is envisaged in this role is it's something that would sit in, not in a hierarchical way, but certainly would be called the connections.
Okay, thanks, Chair, that's all.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Mary, did you indicate the question?
Well, I did, but his answer, that's not.
Okay, that's Councillor Martin.
Hi, Lorraine. What it is, I wondered how long, what kind of time scale are we looking at here for this investment and funding, governance model to be sort of up and running and fully integrated in our community, so you know it's doing the job?
So the wheels of government move very slowly. We've been working behind the scenes on this for already at least 12 months, if not longer, to be perfectly honest. But the discussions that we had on Monday were to try and bring something in over the course of the next 12 months within the next budget round. That's the discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coyne.
Yes, quick follow-up from what Councillor Coyne was asking here about ring fence. You said we've asked the Scottish Government. Have the Scottish Government agreed, or where is that in progress just now? Thanks.
So the Scottish Government have already made a commitment through the Belty House Agreement to remove some of the ring-fenced approaches around budget, and have actually, as they quoted, released £1 billion worth of funding from ring fencing. What we're asking for is a step beyond that, which would actually, instead of the grant specific type of funding, for that to be for the removal of ring fencing around about some of that as well, or some of the policy areas. So the response that we got was positive, but I would say hesitant. And if I'm going to try to be honest, Council Leader was present, so I may want to comment and debate on that too. But they certainly can see the merits of the approach. They were very supportive. But I think they also have a number of loops to go through at national level before it can be fully agreed. But they're pushing us forward to say, you test this out in Clackmannanshire, and we would hope that others will be able to be able to come across them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Larry. Councillor Forsyth to interview.
Thanks, Convener. Yeah, happy to move the paper. I think, first of all, highlights two of the strands of work of the Future programme that have been ongoing for some time, as Lorraine just mentioned there. The Family Wellbeing Partnership, I think, is a very innovative strand of work that is really delivering significant benefits in Clackmannanshire. And again, as Lorraine said there, the visit on Monday from the Permanent Secretary and the Director General of the Scottish Government was an opportunity to showcase this and actually, I suppose, push forward our case for that different model of doing things. And again, as Lorraine said, it was quite well received. There are, I think, going to be a number of stages to go through yet, because they can't just say, yeah, off you go and on you go. There's all sorts of considerations, whether that is you know, the kind of governance or political, or even the COSLA forum, which seems to be a bit of a blocking point for us there. So I'm quite confident, though, that we will be able to move this forward. Before Christmas, Nicky and I met with the Deputy First Minister and the Minister for Local Government, and we were talking about this issue. And I think the visit on Monday was a bit of a follow-up from that. Myself and the Chief Executive will be meeting again with the Deputy First Minister shortly, just to kind of follow up on that meeting and again push the case for the alternative models. The successes that were coming out of the Family Wellbeing Partnership, where initiatives were community-led, could not be understated. And actually, Lynn Henry from the Hunter Foundation, who has been involved in this work all the way through, commented to me that when they go to visit other areas, they are not seeing the same feedback from communities nor the same outcomes. So I think the story that the people in our communities and our third-sector organisations told was pretty powerful there. So I'm looking forward to seeing that develop, and I would like to assure the Chamber that myself, the Chief Executive, and of course Lorraine will be pushing that forward on our behalf. And I don't think we're going to take no for an answer, to be fair. The other area I wanted to highlight was the work that was mentioned with the Vardy Foundation. Peter Vardy was with us on Monday as well. It was a good opportunity to highlight another innovative piece of work. We're going to be the first local authority in Scotland to use this funding model to develop better accommodation and plans for our young people. And again, the Scottish Government were particularly interested in this because I think they can see the benefits of it. For me, it's all about making sure that our looked after children remain in Clackmannanshire in their communities and they have the best outcomes. And given the context that we're working in, this funding model is probably the best way to do that. We visited the site at Grant Street where the new development is likely to be, and we're pushing forward with that. So I would be hoping there'll be further information coming very, very soon to Council. The other area I was just going to pick up on was around about the new post that's been developed. That's as a result of the budget decision, where primarily we want to give support to communities in relation to community asset transfers. It's also going to cover, hopefully, some of the other areas that we've been working on around about the transport and the place redesign. It's going to be quite a significant post over the next 2 years to drive forward the Be the Future programme. So looking forward to that moving forward, hopefully as speedily as possible, fingers crossed, etc. But good paper here, and I hope it just demonstrates just some of the work that's been going on, but also the place that Clackmannanshire has taken in leading a lot of this work for Scotland as a whole. We're getting a lot of attention because of this. It is very, very innovative, and I don't think we should underestimate the benefits of that. And I think that's in the area that public services are in, and the public service reform agenda. Clackmannanshire is well placed to push this forward, and I think we made that case very, very well to the Scottish Government. So propose the paper.
Okay, Councillor Lindsay, second.
Thanks, Councillor, for that as well, because it really just allows me to build on much of what you've said there. We talk about transformation and community collaboration. I mean, this is those things in action in terms of what I'm picking up from this paper and the work that I've been involved in throughout. Transformation, I think, is one of these works, I think, across local authorities where it can be almost seen as a bit of a another word for savings by stealth. This is very much not the case for Clackmannanshire in the way that we focus on transformation. I'm particularly pleased to highlight a couple of areas within this paper. I've been a huge supporter of the Family Wellbeing Partnership right since its inception, and that investment of more than 2.5 million now since 2020 from the Scottish Government and Hunter Foundation is already strengthening collaboration with community organisations and partners, and Lorraine's outlined some of that success already and how that's been reinforced to national partners. And that's enabled Clackmannanshire to continue to support communities and improve outcomes for local people. The approach is one of the earliest examples of the target operating model developments, and the work is absolutely leading to both changing culture and approach by the council. And again, these are things that we have outlined and Lorraine and the executive have outlined over the course of the last few years, and we're now starting to see work coming through. As Lorraine has also highlighted, some of that work can take a lot longer to get into process, and we'll continue to work through that with the senior management teams. Work is already underway with support of the Vardy Foundation, and we're grateful to Sir Peter for his support, not only the financial process and support, but his commitment to Clackmannanshire, the young people of Clackmannanshire. He has a real passion for care experience young people, and we're very much seeing that in his support. And as I say, and that far extends beyond just the financial leverage he's enabling for us. But there's a clear commitment there to support our most vulnerable young people. The approach in terms of that approach in terms of investment into capital assets will result in sustainable models of residential care and support for caregivers, support more young people in the local communities, and reduce the reliance on external providers. And we know the drain that has not only on the council but on the young people themselves. This approach will provide savings, but those savings can be reinvested in supporting care for children and families as well. And this innovative partnership model will secure investment funding which reduces demands on capital funding within the council resources as well. Again, as the council has outlined, Clackmannanshire is the first local authority in Scotland to develop this type of partnership approach, and resulting in significant interest from local and national governments. So, we'll let this continue, and yeah, we're quite excited about where we can get to with this transformation approach. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. The paper is now open for debate. Interest in debate. Oh, sorry, Councillor Taggart.
I was waiting. Thanks, Convener. Just to do the work again to what's already been said, but specifically in the Peter Vardy development, although this is money long term for the council, that really isn't the crux of the matter here for me. The crux of the matter is that it will provide the look after children with a stable environment in their own home environment, giving them connections to family and friends that they currently don't have. So that can only be a good thing to promote health and well-being for them going forward. I was at a locality planning network meeting yesterday, and you can already see the collaboration and connections taking place in Clackmannanshire through that particular forum. Especially the family wellbeing partnership, that was mentioned quite regularly. And moving forward, it's clear that the Health and Social Care Partnership are taking firm notice of what we're doing in other areas, and they're linking in to make that a more collaborative approach and get the very best services for the people in Clackmannanshire, rather than sit in this siloed position where it's all about how do we best serve the position we're in, rather than how do we best serve everybody with the resources that we have. So I just wanted to add that. And additionally, we spoke about transport a lot at the meeting yesterday. Martha was also there. So I think that the collaborative approach around that will also address that, because people are finding that it's difficult to access the services that improve their health and well-being, because the transport network fails them. So if we can link that transport element into that and look at the bigger picture, then it will benefit everybody. Thanks, Convener.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Martin.
Aye, I would agree basically with what everyone said. Of course, I mean, it's a really good paper, and I would, Jane mentioned working in silos for many years now. That's been, you know, people have, well, at council meetings, we really need to work together, we really need, but, you know, it's never quite happened. But this, I mean, probably born of need that we have, you know, what our statistics reflect, is coming into being. So I would say, aye, it's a really good paper, and there's so many different things happening here. So I would just say, yeah, good paper, and looking forward to reading it and hearing of the progress that's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Any other contributions? Councillor Benny.
Thanks, yeah, just a quick thing, as I say, Jane and I at that meeting yesterday, there was an awful lot about transport. It came quite well at points, but we calmed it down. Everything was positive though at that meeting. There was no negative barriers that we were looking at through different areas. Everything seemed to be coming up that is available and is doable. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next year or so. It's going to be big changes, I think, and good changes for the manager. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just briefly to sum up and pick up on the points about the transport. On Friday, myself, the Chief Executive and the leaders and Chief Executives of Stirling and Falkirk Council were met to discuss the regional and economic work that we have been undertaking. It seems like forever, but I think it's been about 5 years. We're finally getting to the point with a strategy, but as usual, governance procedures, etc., get in the way. But the agreement that did come out of the meeting was that we were going to forge ahead on pulling together a regional transport plan. So that's doing a proper assessment of the Forth Valley area, because I think we can all agree that people who live, work, access health and education in the Forth Valley, both throughout all 3 council areas. So it's really important that we move that forward. I think that needs to complement in with the work that Lorraine has already been doing on our community transport model. So it's just to give some assurances that this is being looked at, and we need to bring in our community planning partners in relation to this as well. And the new post is outlined in the paper will help bring some of that strategic thinking together.
Thank you. So the paper asks us to note the progress in developing a collaborative community funding model, which will establish a single integrated vehicle for targeting funds and communities to deliver on local priorities. To note the progress in advancing the framework and design for taking forward the development of a collaborative community and place-based asset management models, and commitment to work with local organisations to more control and ownership of community assets. We would ask to approve the plans to progress a new investment model to support commitment to keep the promise to care experienced children and young people, to start the development of a new children's provision for Clackmannanshire, noting that this is part of an ongoing family wellbeing partnership approach. We're also asked to approve the next steps to further develop the governance model and processes to allow the fundings to flow to the community, noting that the council will be provided with further updates in April. Happy to approve. Thank you. Item 5 is the polling districts and polling places review paper. Everyone's going to take this one. Okay.
Thank you, Convener, and councillors. The polling districts and polling places review has now moved to the second phase in the consultation. I will ask you to note the progress to date. The proposals are going out for the final public consultation on March 28th. The consultation will close on the 26th of April, with the final analysis taking place during the June. Again, that's subject to general election happening. When final representations will be considered on polling districts and places that will be agreed for the next 5 years. Council are also asked to approve the delegation of the authority to the Chief Exec following consultation with councillors in any affected ward, should any changes to the polling scheme become necessary before the next review. The next formal review takes place between October 28 and January 2030. The current review includes ensuring disabled access is available, buildings are still available, looking at buildings that may have become available in the area since the last review, and also those who may have been lost, and confirming the suitability of any buildings at one stage. The one building concern about Baptist Church Hall, where disabled access is not suitable. St John Young's Church Hall, which is the point of insufficient lighting. OBT room is no longer available at some private dwelling. Clackmannanshire Hall had initially reported about disabled access. and at St Mungo's Roman Catholic Church Hall to reinstate as a polling station. The report also contains recommendations by the returning officer that Alba Town Hall returns to being the count venue for Clackmannanshire. No responses were received in relation to the UK parliamentary and general election about no changes. I'm happy to take answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah. Do you have any questions, Councillor Dawson?
Yeah, I've got a question in it. It's around about the removal of the polling station at Forest Mill. I understand that that's because, you know, the premises that were there are no longer available. Do we have a duty to make sure that polling stations are accessible? Because I'm just actually thinking about people getting from Forest Mill to Clackmannanshire Town Hall. Unless you've got a car, it's not really something you would be able to do. So I'm just wondering what duty we have to make sure that people can actually access a polling station, and what maybe encourage postal voting, etc. for that area.
We do have a duty to consider the size of the area and the travel time or availability as in public transport for any polling district and polling station. When we looked at the Northern Lee and Forest Mill area, there was absolutely nothing else. We have, when we moved it to Clackmannanshire, we contacted all of the voters in the area and advised them one, we were going to be personally voting in Clackmannanshire Hall and how to apply for a postal vote. We can do that again if you like.
Okay, Councillor McCoy. Councillor Whittam.
Thank you, Chair. Right, just developing the account. 3.11, we talked about the delegation of authority. Can I just clarify that the reasons for that are purely for expediency? I think it's just a short time scale.
Yes. So, yes, if a building suddenly became unavailable and we were on the run up to an election, we would have to very quickly make a decision because we have to put on the polling cards where we're going to vote. So the lead time, so that's the reason.
And just picking up the St Mungo's point, in Appendix 1, which seems to be the consultation results and mentions the suitability of St Mungo's Church, but in Appendix 2, the recommendations, it says that voters will vote in our own people's welfare hall. Surely we need to change that.
No, basically, what has happened is we will still use the St Mungo's Church Hall. However, the voters who previously voted there will go to the Old People's Welfare Hall. And the reason for this is because for the last two elections we have used the Alba Town Hall as a polling station, and we now have to put them back somewhere so we can use it as a count venue. Previously, some of the voters there had been at the Baptist Church, and we're no longer going to be using them because the disabled access is just it's not acceptable. So to make the wards fit, or the polling areas fit, we had to do a little bit of juggling, so that's why.
Okay, thanks. So does that mean that you won't be using St Mungo's Church?
No,
Have I misunderstood?
no, we will be using St Mungo's, but we won't be using the Baptist Church. It's just the voters who previously went to okay, the voters who at the last election before COVID, it's very complicated, voted at St Mungo's, will vote at the Old People's Welfare Hall, and those from the Old People's Welfare Hall, to keep the numbers correct and make it all one area, will vote at St Mungo's. I don't know if I've made that clear.
Well, I would expect to see, from the line what you said, I would expect to see St Mother's Absolute Church in column 2. And it does not appear in column 2 in appendix 2. So it looks like that recommendation is not being anything. Sorry to nitpick, but you know, that's not right.
Apologies if I've got it wrong. So apologies if I've got that wrong. Sorry, Stuart just brought to my attention on column 2, on the second, on the third page, Alloa Baptist Church, we're discontinuing the use of this building and transferring the voters to St Mungo's.
Mother's Absolute Church Hall,
Yes.
not St Mother's Absolute Church.
St Mungo's.
I've seen
Well, something.
times.
Am I making a colossal error?
Same thing, basically.
Same exactly, right?
There's a hall at the back of it, there's a hall at the back of the church.
So
There's
it's
a hall behind the church.
Yes. Oh, it's semantics.
Okay, excellent.
So as that
I get it.
Lucas, but it's
So you started.
Okay, right. So,
I did a diagram.
Alloa Baptist Church will no longer be used.
Yeah.
The voters who previously voted there will be moving to St Mungo's.
What was what?
there's a good hall at the back of the church, Dennis.
Oh, yours is home.
So those voters from St Mungo's National Church Hall will be transferred to the Old People's Hall. And it is purely to keep the numbers correct for the size of the stations.
I think I've got it.
So
Did you put the
Do hope so, Dennis.
Yeah, it's all before that, the church should have to swap around.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've totally lost what I was going to say. Dennis. Clackmannan Town Hall, you said that there was insufficient disabled access. I believe there's access at the back of the hall. Is that no operational anymore? Thanks.
no, it was a comment that we received from the voter, so we had to include it. We've been out and had a look, and there is a ramp access at the front, providing the old library door is open to get access.
Aye.
And there's also disabled access from the back. The disabled access from the back is slightly tight. If you're in one of the larger mobility chairs, so we had to look at that. So we've taken that point on board, but we haven't looked at it, and I think we're happy with it.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks, as well as questions. Thank you. Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to close this paper. As has been highlighted, the main purpose of the paper is to delegate authority to the Chief Executive to discuss with ward members if there is any changes after the final consultation. The final consultation is at the end of this month through to the end of April. This follows the first phase of consultation, which was carried out last year between October and December, of which there was 66 representations. As Evelyn's highlighted, a number of these related to disability access, and the key changes, overall there's very few changes. There was the ones that's been highlighted in relation to changes bringing St Mungo's Church Hall back and voters being transferred to the Alloa People's Welfare Hall, and the
unavailability of the low and me tea room at Forest Mill. I'll be interested to see it. Given Councillor Forson's representations, what sort of representation we get from Forest Mill on that particular one. And then, of course, there's the reassertion that the Alloa Town will be used as the fine count. So I'm happy to move that paper.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Forson, second.
Yeah, I'm going to second, but before I do so, I've just had a message from Fiona who's online saying that when Evelyn was there, she couldn't really hear her, but she could hear Donald fine, so she wonders if there's the opportunity of changing the kind of presenter's mic with maybe one of the other ones, just to see if it makes a difference. Yeah, but it's worth a try. But anyway, I'm happy to second the paper. I think that for me, ensuring accessibility of polling stations is really important. As someone who's involved in elections, keen to see what the feedback would be from Forest Mill, and I think we do have to try and encourage postal voting in relation to that area, just to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to vote should they wish to. And the other big thing for me is the return to Alloa Town Hall for the count venue. It's not an election, it's not an Alloa Town Hall, so it's good to see that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Papers open to debate. Any wish to debate? Are we happy to approve the paper as presented?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Item 7 is the was asked in primary state paper and Collins will take us through that.
Good morning, Councillor. Just for a check, can I just check that people online can hear me okay?
Thank the people up at the coffee
Good morning, Council. I'm here to present a paper that looks to seek approval of the Council to progress with a consultation to permanently relocate St Mungo's Primary into the Alloa campus, which is currently home to Alloa Academy and St Mungo's. As you will be aware, St Mungo's was decanted into Alloa Academy in April 2018, as there were concerns about ongoing issues of damp. In November 2018, the Council agreed that the Council should remain in Alloa Academy in the medium term. Since moving into the campus, there have been ongoing adaptations to the physical environment and operating model to ensure that learners' needs are met. The paper outlines that there are 4 options explored under the options appraisal exercise. The paper outlines the capital investment required for these options based on the current market build rates. Having taken all options into consideration, this paper recommends that a consultation under the Schools Act of 2010 is undertaken to seek the views of the permanent relocation of St Mungo's Primary into the current accommodation in the Alloa campus. The consultation will focus on the educational benefits. The outcome of the consultation will be brought back to Council in January 2025 for further consideration. It will include the voice of parents, young people and stakeholders. Both Pete Lennell, Strategic Director of Place, and myself are here to answer any questions that you may have. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Gordon. I think that's straight. It's certainly reaching 26. Any questions on the Councillor Coyne?
Thank you, Commissioner. Right, 3.8, the various sites to evaluate. It doesn't say anywhere in the report what the alternative use our academy would make of the space where St Mungo's to be relocated or rebuilt elsewhere. Could you give any information on what the school would use that space for?
Okay, thanks, Chair. As a teacher when the school was moved into the site, and that the corridor that St Mungo's RC Primary School is based was the English department. However, there's capacity to shuffle departments around across the school to accommodate the school's still got space for that. It's got space for the current intake of both schools. What it would use if it wasn't considered, I would imagine, it would be up to the head teacher, of course, but it would be probably to look at the relocation of the classes that English were displaced in the first place. However, the model does work, but I've spoken to the parents, and they are aware that, yes, there's areas of the school that are still busier than they were previously, since the move.
And should those tensions be taken into account in our deliberations? Do you say?
I think I'm confident that the consultation will get a real picture of what that's like from the young people, from all the stakeholders involved. I know that there'll be comment within that, but I would say that the school it has got a footprint to absolutely take the number of young people that are accessing the building in its place. But I'm sure that consultation would give that feedback to us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. George,
can I compliment Colin and staff at both schools on working so well and not just to that. If you go in the school, as I'm sure many of you have, you'll see a joy, but a constrained joy because one school inside another. So can I make a few points?
so at this stage, John, as I've been asking questions,
My apologies, that was a preamble.
they're not questions.
Relating to 3.1. Is this the only example of an RC primary school co-located within a secondary state or an RC school in Scotland?
Yes, it's only one that I'm aware of. There are other schools that have got right through 3D18 models across school, but you're absolutely right regarding being an RC school based in a secondary. I'm not aware of any others in Scotland.
Are there implications for consultation with the Catholic, firstly the diocese and secondly the Catholic hierarchy within Scotland?
The process of consultation isn't solely just about pupils and parents that go to that school, and there would be opportunities for that to take place as part of the consultation. And as you know, George, I've been out to speak to the local reps as well to make sure they're aware of all of the supports in place and ongoing adaptations as well. Thanks.
3.2, the level of adaptations within the school to make sure that both schools can run smoothly and best support the learning community. What satisfaction is there with lunchtime arrangements, specifically for kids' access to toilets at lunchtime?
Thanks, George. I think there are ongoing reviews of any of the plans in place. So it's not just about, as you say, the physical building, walls getting built, toilets getting built, things like that. What we have recently reviewed is these plans regarding toilets at lunchtime to make sure there's a more easy accessible toilet for young people out the playground for the part that some of those RCs could use. So there's one very close by now. However, previously there was a bit of a walk to that toilet that they accessed, but I don't see that as an issue following that review.
Would it be appropriate to ask if that's suitable for the present situation where the head teacher is located in a toilet at lunchtime, to allow the kids access during lunch?
That's the schools are really well staffed. How they want to operate that model regarding learning assistance and the playground and things, but it's all reviewed, and I would want the head teacher feeling that she has to be based in a toilet. Certainly, there is one really close by that there would be walking distances closer from, well, as close from us to this toilet here in place now for young people to access.
Thank you. Can I continue with 3.3? 3.83. Various sites were evaluated and footprint tested for a sixth classroom school of maximum of 150 pupils. Could you tell me, please, what's the current and projected role of St Margaret's Primary?
current role I've got from just the start of this year was 143, so approximately 150. We've seen a 10% increase in learners accessing the school since they moved into our academy, where we've seen a 5% reduction elsewhere. So the numbers are healthy. We do manage the numbers because there's a lot of placement requests to go into St Mungo's primary school, so we can always manage that number related to the placement requests. We would do that for any of the schools across Clackmannanshire.
So the 150 maximum would not pose a problem in any projected new school?
That's what we've currently got in place, so we can maintain that going forward. It's important to emphasise that the location of it being South East Alloa, a lot of the learners aren't going just because of the faith aspect, they go to as well because it's a good school will maintain these high numbers.
At 3.84, I previously agreed that to demolish and rebuild Fourth Crescent would be economically viable. The demolition costs are involved there as part of one of the options, but would there not be demolition costs regardless of whether or not a new school was built in that area?
May I ask Peter to come in on this aspect, if that's okay?
Thank you for the question. My understanding is that those demolition costs have been taken out, so we are comparing the cost of across all the different schools.
Says here the higher costs are due to the requirement for demolition.
So that said that in the text. We didn't change the text there. There was in terms of the actual quantum, we haven't included the demolition cost there. I think the other increased cost was around about the infrastructure that would be required to deal with the ground water conditions there.
Thank you. 3.91. This option secures top-grade condition and suitability solutions for education provision. Pupils attending St Mungo's are able to benefit from the additional facilities that a large modern secondary school has, that would be available in a small primary school. Within particular parameters, I would see that as correct. However, for somebody in the earlier years, I wouldn't see a suitability between home economics room and technical room, simply in terms of size, they're bigger. So the level at which the younger kids can participate and use the equipment that there is in a secondary school is limited. So, do you agree?
Yes, there's aspects of the school, you're absolutely right, and I think I need to always review what is the maximum benefit from both schools of that site. I would go for any school. But just that there are areas of the school that early years would access. We're thinking about the stage for pantos, we're thinking about the AstroTurf pitch, and other facilities that are there. It's a really good site, as you know. But yeah, certain year groups may find some of that difficult to access.
Last to the nature of our academy contract. Is there access to the PPP contract, and what implications does it have?
Regarding St Mungo's access to the PPP contract.
Specifically, is this being determined by a PPP contract? Is it a determinant factor in all of this?
Absolutely. So, for example, that would be last year we had schools that were struggling to maintain open due to industrial action, but because St Mungo's wasn't a school, that had a PPP contract, we could consider differently because they're supported by the janitors of Amy, for example. So there's an example how that contract can sometimes play in. But yes, the contract regarding the condition of it really will maintain school, and through that contract that's in place.
Thank you very much. Am I allowed to make a comment at the end after this?
So, John, I think it's not a question. Once we've got all the questions on over for debate, so anything you haven't managed to raise a question, you'll be able to contribute to the debate. That's.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Councillor Holden, followed by Councillor Wilson.
Thanks, convener. Can I just first of all say that I hope I'm speaking on behalf of my other colleagues who are attending this meeting remotely. This is almost impossible to follow. I'm getting just vaguely, it's bits and it's really rather unhelpful. So we need to have a look at that. So I'm just raising that just so you know that. But anyway, in relation to this paper, can I ask my first question would be, in section 3.1 it says that St Mungo's Roman Catholic Primary School was decanted to Alloa Academy as a result of concerns about the ongoing issue with damp. Can I just ask about the accuracy of that particular statement? I mean, to me, that's like saying that the Titanic sunk due to humidity. That's not an entirely accurate statement as far as I can see. There was flooding in that school, and it was not a damp issue; it was flooding issue. Can you clarify that for me, please?
I think my answer to that is there was damp in the school. I remember the smell of all the equipment that came from that school moved into Alloa Academy, and I certainly didn't want people to be in a school like that for any minute longer, but we had to make that decision. But yes, there was issues of water ingress and shooting at the bottom of the basement and that. I don't know if my police colleagues want to add further comment.
I think perhaps we could clarify our term is groundwater ingress rather than actual flooding. So it's a similar impact in terms of getting water at the bottom of that building, which then moved up into damp through ingress. It's groundwater water conditions. Groundwater conditions. Sorry.
Yeah, just ask the second question and follow up to that. I think it's pretty important because it's the person who was primarily responsible for bringing the matter to the attention of the council at the time with regards to the reason for the school having to be decanted. It was not an issue of damp. Damp could be dealt with, damp could be addressed. The reason why the primary school had to be decanted was the issue of the flooding, because the flooding could not be stopped, not the damp. I think this is really, really important. It's important for parents, it's important for people to understand why a school closed. So if I could just perhaps just address that point, please.
Okay, yes. So, yes, I think we agree that it's very much a chronic issue. It wasn't a case of damp had gone in and we could sort the damp out and that would be the end of the issue. It was something which was not fixable, which is why the step taken to decant school was taken.
Okay, my next question. I'm sorry, I'm getting a wee bit of feedback, but my next question, just to be clear, reading the report seeks permission to consult on the basis that we pursue the accommodation of the St Mungo School within Alloa Academy. But in the report itself, it refers to 4 options being considered. I'm not too sure whether or not the 4 options were the issues were considered by the council officers prior to determining there was one option that was recommended for consultation. Is that the case, or will the parents be able to look at all of the 4 options and provide feedback on those, or they're only able to provide feedback on one option, which is the one that's been recommended?
Councillor Bolton, this one is to only consider the one option, having reflected on all 4 options. So just to be clear, it is to seek the sole option, which was option 1. If there was any changes to that view, in case of a different paper coming forward, they would be supportable and that put forward and will recommend it today.
So what you're saying is that the parents will be consulted on the option of co-location of St Mungo's within Alloa Academy, but will not be consulted on whether or not they would have liked to have seen a build at St Mungo's site, or a build a new St Mungo's at another site, or various in those three options. It was only the one option now that it would provide feedback on. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so effectively, the council, being the council officers on this occasion, discounted three options before the public were even consulted, and the public are only now allowed to provide feedback on one option. I'm not suggesting that there's anything inappropriate about that. I'm just simply asking the question if that is the case.
If that's the case, then the feedback would come back to council for further consideration. But yes, that's the case.
The final question would be how useful a response would be back from members of the public if it indicated that they were not in favour of the co-location of St Mungo's with an Alloa Academy. How useful would that information be if they come back and just say no? Would it not have been more useful if the public came back and provided a more nuanced response by saying, well, yes, we would prefer that option, or no, we wouldn't prefer that option, and there are other options which we think are worthy of consideration, and these are what these options are. So effectively what I'm asking is, do you think it's the best way to consult with people by blocking off three options and leaving them only with one? It kind of suggests that you've kind of made up your mind before you've asked the question what answer you're going to give.
So I don't know if there's a question to that. I suppose my response is, do I think it's the best? I do, because I'm aware of the budget. I'm aware that it takes that into all consideration of the full thing going forward. And this one would give the views of the site that they're in, and we can bring that back and review further in a year's time.
So just to be clear, there was a question, and it's not around whether or not option one is the best option. What I'm asking is whether or not the way in which we're consulting is the best way to consult in order to achieve an outcome, a positive outcome from that consultation, which will enable us to take an informed decision about the best way forward for St Mungo's. What I'm effectively asking is, I'm not saying just one option, you know, that's the preferred. I'm saying, is there another way of consulting? Is there a better way of consulting in order to secure a more comprehensive response from people rather than just consulting on one particular option?
So thanks, I understand the question. Yes, I mean, it is our recommendation for council to consider that option one. That is the recommendation, that is the one we feel is the right way forward for the council to consider.
So, do you have any further questions? Thank you. Councillor Lindsay?
Thanks, Kevin. Just pick up a couple of things. It's probably been a couple of answers to this, but just to get clarity. I remember at the time of decant and the meeting that took place with the Parent Council, the wider Parent Council as well, stakeholders, it was around concern that moving into the Alloa campus, even on a temporary basis, could have a negative impact, potentially in terms of placement requests, no desire to attend the school. Has that been the case? So,
there's lots of ways we can look at this. The range, the school's a success. You heard George's words, being in the school, you can see that when you go in and feel that from the learners. I think it's a really well run school, and I think it's a fantastic environment for them to go and learn. The impacts and sort of outcomes that I look at, things like attendance, it would be above the national average. It would be one of the best attended schools in Clackmannanshire. When I look at the team's better now than when they moved into the school with an increased role. Now that will be lots to do with the strategies that are in the classroom, but I don't feel that I've got, regarding the educational benefits, I don't feel I'm coming with real concerns. There are the meetings with the parents that I have frequently, constantly reviews that, and I see lots of good things there. But yes, there are some parents that will have a view of another school would be beneficial. I don't think that would be different from many schools across Clackmannanshire.
thanks, Colin. So in terms of educational benefits, there has been an improvement in attainment. Just to clarify that, if you could further, and then just there's obviously been it's been outlined some of the adaptations that have taken place, and again I've sat through some of the stakeholder meetings and some of the actions that been listed have been addressed, and will continue to be addressed. So just that reassurance that, whatever comes forward through consultation, if further adaptation is required, or, anything to ensure the operational, it operates basically as smoothly as is required, will continue to be an ongoing process. So first of all, attainment, just that ongoing operation to ensure it's as smooth as possible.
Schools are rated almost in numeracy and literacy from primary school. There's some key measures. So if we go back, currently they're on track to have 92% achieve a level of both numeracy and literacy. If we go back to when they moved in, that would be about 72%. The school's flying. The school's doing really well with attainment. The strategies are working that they've got in place. I don't think that's the overall just deciding factor, but it's an important one to keep an eye on. I think where you do hear issues, and maybe not a technical term, but niggles, is round about things like lunch and things like toilets that George has said, and they are constantly reviewed, and that will be ongoing, whereby the primary learners will want a set application for their lunch. There are something like 4 or 5 halls in that school that could accommodate that, but it takes really good planning on timetables because of the classes currently in place. So they are reviewed, they're ongoing, but they do currently have separate lunch times, but there is a bit of an overlap, and that's the thing that parents would want reviewed, which we'll absolutely do to the best of our ability.
Thank you, Councillor Graham.
Thanks, Mayor. A follow-up to all that's just been said. I take Councillor Holden's point. This consultation, I think we need clarification on what the consultation is about. My initial thought was it was a consultation on 4 options, but I hear and I read and I hear that that's not the case. It's not a consultation about the 4 options about the location of school, because they're only being informed that there's one option. Now, if that's the case, what is the consultation about? This is about the quality of education to this point, the educational impacts of the move so far, and recommendations for future changes within option 1. Is that what the consultation is about?
Just quickly, guys, round about this regarding the Consultation Act of 2010, and I would advise us to consult on this on an option, and this is option that we're recommending to take forward. So it is that sole option that we're looking to seek this clarification on the location, being in St Mungo, being in the shared campus. The process takes some time, hence the sort of January date of the year, because it is that external lens. It's the external lens of Education Scotland consultants coming in, being part of that, sitting in, hearing what parents, what stakeholders have to say, young people's voice from all, so that there's a clear timeline that we would have to follow and guidance that we have to follow on that. But it is to follow that guidance is the key point that I'm making.
Thanks, Colin. But surely the point of consultation is to seek answers to questions. What is the question?
On the educational benefits of remaining in the site that they're currently in that campus.
And if the answer to that question is bad one, it's an answer, what option then would be taken?
That's where we are. If this was approved to go into consultation, we would take that feedback into next year, into January. And if the scenario you're saying, if it was very negative, it would be for the council to consider that next step. Any consideration of other alternatives than that option would lead to us reviewing our learning estate strategy, where we would consider all the sites that we've got across Clackmannanshire, and we have to reconsider our capital investment at that point for the future. So there is opportunity for that, but that would be the process for that scenario.
I don't understand that. So the options 2, 3 and 4 are not off the table or on the side table at the moment, and the consultation could bring them back on the table. That's what we're saying.
That's what we'd have to come back to in January at that point. We'd have to see that there is that option, but this is consultation on that sole side, just for clarity for everyone. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Quinn.
Another question about the details of this again. Is it possible to have a consultation like is proposed here, but then also with the obviously with the recommendation to stay put where they are, co-locate with our academy, and also ask them at the same time about their views on the other options? Is there any negatives to doing that? Is there anything to make that more feasible?
That's not what this paper is, and it would require me to come back with alternatives. This paper is following a consultation on that sole site and following that act. Any changes, like I say, would have to come back with alternatives to that.
If it's following that, can we, as part of that, is it allowed to ask this question and also ask people's views about other options at the same time? Is that in any way a possibility, or do we have to just ask the one specific question, or about the one specific question?
Sorry, no, just so clear, in terms of what we've been asking the decision today, in terms of what's sitting in this paper, what's been proposed is a statutory requirement in terms of consultation on that option. The outcome of that consultation will go back to council and us to make a decision further down the line, but it's on that single option that's coming forward. That's what people's asked us to decide on today, and we're not in a position to do anything but amending that in terms of conversation we're having around it today.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Point of order, Kavina. Yeah, I'm following up because I've already got an amendment typed up on my computer here, but my understanding is, and so I'm looking for some advice from yourself and the clerk. My understanding is that we can still accept the report, but we can amend the report. And we can amend the report to include the option there that the consultees are consulted on the other options which have not been recommended. And that would be the purpose of my amendment, which I'm unable to put up because the chat's disabled. So that's notwithstanding the statutory responsibility to consult and in the way in which we consult. What I'm saying is that the council, I'm asking the question, does the council have the authority to amend the report, to ask questions and allow people to be consulted on the other options in addition to the one that's actually being recommended? So I'm not changing the recommendation, just the range of options which are being considered. Convener, I can't hear anything. Silence.
So we're going to change the microphone, 70 seconds.
Is that any better? Excellent. So the report at the moment is based on law, and that's what's been presented to council today. If you're looking to, I don't think it's not even possible to change the law in this report, whether you put up an amendment or not, because that's what we're following, is the procedures of the law in relation to this report in terms of the consultation. If you were looking to do an amendment, I don't think you can do it in terms of law, in terms of trying to look at other options, because there can only be one option under this piece of legislation. The only other alternative is to bring our paper back, but it would have to be with the input of Education Scotland, is what I'm understanding. So in terms of the proposal for an amendment, I don't think it would be competent. Yeah, and the other alternative is to have the choice not to approve the paper. And it's important to say that this is a consultation, that it will come back to council, and it will be the council's decision at that point whether to agree the terms of the consultation. Is that all okay to everybody around that?
Yeah, Convener, can I just ask on that point of order? I can understand, because this is rather difficult doing this remotely, but Is the clerk saying that it's ultra various or in some way inappropriate or incompetent for me to submit a motion? Would it not be best for me to propose an amendment, propose the amendment, and then to receive a ruling on the amendment?
Yeah, I'm happy for you to issue the amendment and we can look at the competency of that, but as I said, if it deviates from what is actually being discussed at the moment in terms of incorporating additional options, then it wouldn't be competent, it's not saying at the moment. But I'm happy to look at it.
Yeah, well, I'd be happy to look at it too, but I'm happy to put an amendment up on that basis. I'll give notice of an amendment.
So, 2 minutes, I'll go back to my standing order, stop, hold on. Still at questions at the moment. So we need to get it into the second first. So, in terms of making the amendment, Councillor Holden, the paper itself needs to be proposed and seconded first, but I have no, I don't have budget on the notice of the amendment. I'm just, once we finish the questions and we've gone through the proposal and seconder, how would you look to put the amendment through? Is it you're just going to give it to me verbally? Can you do it through Teams? How is it you're proposing to do that?
I can do it verbally. I would have preferred to do it through the chat forum, but the chat's been disabled. So.
Well, if you do verbally, and then you can follow it up within a Teams message to me, and then I can address it with the convener. Is that okay? So we'll take it verbally after we've done the proposal and the seconding, and then we're entering into debate, and I hear your notice.
Of course, the only reason why I gave notice of amendment now is because I've asked the question and got clarity about the options. Once I got that response, that was the only point I was able to give notice of an amendment. So I'm just doing that to let you know, rather than actually seeking to introduce the amendment just now, because I know this is for questions only.
Okay, noted, thanks.
Okay, do you have any other questions on this? Thank you, Gordon. Councillor Lindsay to move the bill.
Thanks, Leader. I've been connected with this situation and the work around the weekend and ongoing operations since 2018. We made a commitment then to the school community that St Mungo's Primary School would continue to exist, and that commitment very much remains. Firstly, I'd like to thank parents, children, staff and the entire school community for their patience and continued positive engagement with the council, and extend that very much to the Alloa Academy school community, also into key stakeholders such as George, who's around the table, who's been actively involved in these discussions. I have and will continue to engage with the both school communities to ensure their views are heard through this process. Now, what I would say, as we dangerously embark on a little bit of a messy situation, which is currently before us, this has been very clean so far in terms of discussion that we've been having, that Colin has led with both parent council groups. It's been very clean, very open, very honest in terms of the options that have been looked at, and the options are outlined in the paper. And I think what we do to go alongside this is a public document today that has 4 options within it. Ultimately, there is one being proposed, but there's openness and honesty around the 4 different options that have been considered by our professional council officers. So I would just highlight that the openness, transparency, and the dialogue, and the way that the dialogue has been conducted has been exemplary to this stage. So I've got slight concern over the last 10-15 minutes that we're just descending into a position whereby it's been seen as being quite a messy process. Be very clean, and I've been really impressed by the way that Colin has led this entire process. The conduct between both the council and the parent councils has been really good in terms of debate, and that's not necessarily just everything is perfect and smooth and positive. There's been challenges, there's been actions, those have been addressed. There's still outstanding actions, but those are continuing to be addressed. The operation currently within our academy is very, very smooth. The information to that end that I've gathered throughout this work with Colin is the young people, supported by a fantastic group of staff, have continued to grow and thrive in a high-quality educational environment. We need to remember that. Significant adaptations have been made, and that's been outlined in the paper, so I'll not dwell on that. And we'll continue to work with the school community on that. Now, the purpose of this paper is to seek approval of council to progress with a consultation to permanently relocate St Mungo's Primary School to Alloa Academy, as is required in statute. And it's required, the Act requires council to consult on a proposed option, which is exactly what we're doing in this. So again, trying to keep this as clean as possible. Now, I've outlined, for me, I've put 4 reasons why I believe this is the right option forward anyway, is that the Alloa campus has the required space available to accommodate St Mungo's Primary School on a permanent basis, and we've established staff for questions. It provides an excellent learning environment, a first-class learning environment, high standard of building for young people and staff to grow and to develop. Again, to reinforce the point, the concern was that the catchment would reduce, so that the catchment at the school would reduce because this facility wouldn't work. It has worked, and it's working very, very well. Young people and staff are able to benefit from additional facilities, and I take the point from George. Sorry, I'm descending into a bit of a debate here rather than proposal, but it's just to capture some of these points, that young people will be able to access additional facilities that they wouldn't normally be able to access in other schools. And it's a much more efficient and a sustainable use of council learning estate. So now, if approved, statutory public consultation will be led by Education Scotland, not by Clackmannanshire Council, by Education Scotland as part of the Act. The consultation involves parents, carers and children of both staff from both St Mungo's and Alloa Academy, as well as all other stakeholders associated with schools. The Catholic Church are also a statutory consultee. They would have been consulted extensively regardless of that, but they are a statutory consultee. Now, Education Scotland will meet with stakeholders and attend public meeting that will be held as part of that consultation. So effectively, an independent consultation by Education Scotland will be delivered here. Now, Education Scotland will prepare a report on educational benefits. Again, as Colin's outlined, that is the why, the reason for this, is to establish these educational benefits. A report on the outcome of the consultation, including how the Council intends to respond to any recommendations that Education Scotland may bring back, and feedback from parents, pupils and staff will be brought back to a council meeting early next year. So for me, this has been an entirely clear process. I'm clear on this process. I understand what else you could do. For me, this is the clearest process to go through, led by an independent body. Again, just to thank Colin for his work on this, I really would reinforce the approach that has been taken, very carefully, very empathetic. We recognise the magnitude of this for everybody, but we are in a really positive position, led it very, very well. So I'll leave it for that just now, and that's my proposal to the paper. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Hamilton, second.
Thanks, Convener. I know that since relocation of Mungo's to Alloa Academy in 2018, there's been ongoing engagement and work to ensure the current situation has met and continues to meet the needs of the learners. It is in all stakeholders' best interest that there is an agreed permanent location going forward. I support the recommendation in line with the Schools Consultation Act to permanently relocate the Humbles to our academy, and I welcome consultation. I look forward to the paper coming back to Council in January, February 25 with a response to any recommendations. I'd like to second the paper.
Thank you. Before we move on to any debate, Councillor Holmes indicated wishes to propose an amendment to the paper. Councillor Holmes.
Thanks very much, convener. Yeah, just to say in relation to the amendment that I'm proposing, I do understand that there's been an agreed process in place, and I do understand there's been some excellent work which has taken place since 2018, and that integration into Hallow Academy has been in many ways very, very effective. But to make the point, that's not the point. That's not what we've been asked today. What we've been asked today is to agree the recommendation that we consult on one particular option. And I am interested from a number of angles as to the legitimacy or not, or otherwise has been suggested by the clerk that we are unable to amend that in some way. I am not seeking to make this amendment on the basis that I'm changing the recommendation. I'm happy with it. I'm not uncomfortable with what's going on at Hallow Academy at the moment at all. What I'm uncomfortable with is the council, effectively the council officers, looking at 4 different options and then coming back with one option and then saying, okay, this is our one option and we're recommending this, but we're excluding comment and feedback on the others. I'm perfectly happy with the recommendation as it stands. I would simply add an amendment to it, and that amendment would be this. 2.2, it is further recommended that consultees' views are also sought on the range of options as outlined in section 3.81, which are not being recommended. So we are seeking the views on the options that we're recommending, but we're also seeking the views on the options which we're not recommending. But we're being very clear as to why we're recommending a particular option, and I'm supportive of that. So there is no there's no sort of ultimate chaos at the end of this. And I do understand that some members are kind of keen to keep this clean and to avoid messiness. I understand that, I do, but I'm much more sympathetic to the views that we should be seeking the views of the parents and the teachers, and obviously the Roman Catholic Church as well, with the views on this proposal. And in order for us to arrive at a much better position, this amendment would, sorry.
Councillor, could you give us the wording of the amendment first, so we can get that written down? Sorry,
I did do that. I read that out. Do you want me to paste it? Can I paste it in chat, or do you want me to just read it out again?
Just give us the wording of the amendment just now, nothing else.
Okay. The amendment is this, 2.2. It is further recommended that consultees' views are also sought on the range of options as outlined in section 3.81, which are not being recommended. So I'll repeat that, 2.2. It is further recommended that consultees' views are also sought on the range of options as outlined in section 3.81, which are not being recommended. Is that clear? Okay. If I can just finish as to why I'm proposing that amendment. So as I say, I'm quite comfortable with the arrangements in Hallow Academy, quite comfortable with what's been recommended and what's been consulted on has been clearly recommended. But what I'm seeking to obtain is the views of all the consultees on the other options as well, which I think are equally valuable. So I hope that would be accepted by council. It's made with good intent for the right reasons. Thank you.
Councillor Bolton, can you drop me an email with the, not an email, Teams separate to this meeting with the exact wording? I just want to make sure I get it right, because I'm picking up a bit.
Right, I can do that. I'll do that right now. I'll do it right now. I can just simply copy and paste it. I've got it written up.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'll do it right now. Okay, that's done.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Holden. Given the nature of the paper and the people planning for us in terms of bringing this paper forward, we can jump just only for 30 minutes, so we can come back at 5 minutes of the